This is the grid that the Bombers call home.
You're throwing the tee in the ground. If your hand's not shaking, there's something wrong.
I'm in my element. It's evident that there's levels to the game. I'm in my element. Flow is like water. I'm forced to a fire. I'm feeling like gold. Gotta stay grounded, stay down to earth. Following God and you grinding, you do as you told. I don't work to make you like me, but I'm front and center. Word to Spike Lee. I'm in my element. Ooh, yeah. I'm in my element. Ooh, yeah. I'm in my element. I'm in my element. Yeah. I'm in my element. Ooh, yeah. I'm in my element.
World Long Drive is back on the big stages, and this year, we're back on TV. Finally, 2023 season, we're kicking off in Mesquite, Nevada, exactly the same place as last year's World Championship. So this was basically a part 2, and everything is still exactly the same, but yet everything is different this year. One thing being, well, the temperature. It's not short season yet. I'm wearing pants. But also the format with the groups of 16 is still the same, so still everybody's playing against everybody at some point in time, but this year there was a premium to finishing top 2 in those groups. The premium was these 6 guys skip the round 2 and directly qualify and advance into the round 3. So you basically get the next day's morning off, which is huge. Or is it? That is the big question. Right here, I'm just smoothing through the first round, and I got 1,000 points and made it through. And here we are, group of 16. The last 16 guys face off, the biggest hitters in the world. And this first set was absolutely terrible. Absolutely. It was the opposite of the day before. The day before, day 1, was an automatic. I could do whatever, and I was hitting like 2-3 good balls in. This first set, I was shaking a little bit. It was not great. Well, this ball went in, but I almost skied it. It went like 380. Definitely not my best hitting, and the funny part is, on the driving range, it was absolutely amazing. I was doing great. I was pounding golf balls. I was showing good numbers. And then as soon as I went down there to hit, it was completely different. I was shaking a little bit. I couldn't find the face at all. I didn't know where to aim. And well, these are the moments that, well, most people have at some point in time, but the question is, who can correct those? And I was struggling, as I said, but this set, the second set already, I was kind of finding it again. I hit a few people in, and then on that last ball, Ryan Gregnell went 419, so only got 100 points for a 416 ball, which is, well, at that point in time, a pretty big ball, but Ryan hit it further. And well, that didn't really help for the next set because I was slicing this ball. Then on the next one, I was trying to correct it, was hitting it left. So when I'm hitting out there, all my quick fixes are kind of extreme. When I slice a ball, I just try to kind of overdraw the next one and see what it does. And like in this set, I was just going back and forth. I was going right and left and right and left and right and left and hit a half decent ball in at 382, but that only got me 50 points at least. And eventually, it was about the last 2 sets. I had to win the last 2 sets, 200 points each for 400 so I could make it through, and I knew it. And then pounded this ball at 223 miles an hour, a little bit of a cut down the right side, 2200 spin, 12 launch. That was pretty much perfect at that point in time in terms of conditions. And I hit it 424. Took home 200 points against Mark Costello here at 419, an amazing hitter. And well, 5 yards of a difference sometimes is a big difference, but it's actually only like 5 yards, right? So as you know yourself, long drive is a game of inches, and we see a little bit of that in just a little bit here because it got really tight. But before we continue with the very last set, which is the one set that I needed to make it to the final 8, which eventually is match play rounds, I want to tell you guys why this new tee right here was actually a differentiator for me. Because sometimes, as I said, long drive is a game of inches. You only have to hit it 7 inches longer than your opponent to actually beat him. I think 6 inches is still considered a tie. 7 inches then is considered winning. And this tee right here, the Tornado tee, up here, creates a lot less friction than the regular tee. So this could be the difference in terms of a few inches. I was utilizing this tee for the very first time in this tournament. I never used it before because I felt like this top section right here is a little bit unstable, and especially because I tend to shake a little bit during the tournaments. I felt like this in combination with a tee claw, well, might not be the best choice because tees could fall off the tee, but eventually it turned out great. I was trying it, I tried it, I was pounding it, so I stuck with it. Really amazing, and well, when you want to squeeze every single inch or yard out of your drive, you might want to give this a try. Also, pretty cool side effect, these don't break. So, especially back home when I'm practicing in my simulator, I have to clean up for like 10 minutes after I'm hitting a full-blown practice session because so many tees break and they fly everywhere. A practice session with these, I only need 1 or 2 tees. Really cool. So give this a shot, check out the description below to get one of these yourself. And now to the last set. It was the biggest set. As you know, like based on how the rounds of 16 are set up, the last group is always the biggest group with the biggest names. And as you can see here in the very end, I was still out. I was still in 10th place at 375 points, but I still had one more set to hit. So I had to do very well, either win or come second based on how all the other guys do to make it through. And here we go. The last set, the most important set of the day for me, and this is how I started off. Pounded it right down the middle, a little bit high in the face. 15 launch is always, well, especially in these conditions, a sign for me that I hit it slightly high in the face. 216 ball speed. But with these numbers, usually out at this grid on this particular day, you were creating big numbers. So that was a good start, and for me, it's always crucial to have an early ball in so I can build on that. And I pounded my third ball, 419, which was a pretty significant number at that point, especially with Kyle being at 405, Brandon being at 399, and Reed Russell at 385. So at this point in time, it really looked good. So I could build on it. So I could just start letting it go, start ripping golf balls a little bit harder. So this one went at 225.8, sweeping a little bit to the left, towards the left line. I think these tracers were actually aimed a little bit too far left. So a lot of these balls that we've seen that were going right at the flags based on the tracer are actually like 10-15 yards in. So I think it's a little bit of a learning process with FlightScope as well, that just became the new partner to provide the tracers and the numbers, and for their first event they really did a great job. So Brandon Flynn was still looking for a bigger number here, 399. That last ball looks in. Let's see if it is. 207 here on the ball speed. Brandon Flynn is a hitter that's very consistent. So he's not putting up the biggest ball speed numbers, but he's always dangerous because he's hitting good balls in the grid, very optimized balls in the grid. So 405 for Kyle, Brandon Flynn 399, 419 for myself, and Reed Russell at 385. So this gave me 200 points, and eventually this set, the most important set, got me through, which was absolutely amazing. It's been a fight, right? Remember, I didn't start off great. I started with 25 points, then 100 because Ryan Gregno beat me by a couple yards, then got 50 points, 175 after 3 rounds, which is not great, and then went 200 and 200, eventually putting me in 4th place right here at 575 points. And the big difference compared to last year is we are not hitting in groups of 4 or the top 2 advance. This year we're going head to head. Also, we're not being seeded based on the points of this ranking, we're being seeded based on the world ranking. And my first match was against Bobby Ray. I kicked off that first set with an absolute bomb at 416. Then another nugget at 224.6, 13.2 launch, 1900 spin right down the middle with a little bit of a draw that eventually ended up being 419. So I had a really good start to that set. Also, balls early in the grid for me are always big because then I can build on that. Then hit another one that was slightly, very, very slightly out to the right. I towed it a little bit too at 214, but it was high launch with low spin. But then Bobby Ray hit this nugget at 212 ball speed, 11 launch, 2000 spin, his absolute prototypical ball flight, the slight little cut. This one was 162 feet up in the air. This is his prototypical ball flight that he's very dangerous with, because these balls convert very well at those speeds, those launches, and I don't really know what was going on back there in the grid. Maybe there was a hot spot between 370 and 390 that we don't know of, but all I see is numbers that come back based on the ball speed numbers that go out, and this ball was dangerous. So he was yelling at it. So let's see where it's coming back. 415 yards. So I was 4 yards longer. That was a close one, an absolute close one. But Bobby Ray is such an amazing athlete. He's brand new to the game. He just made his debut at exactly the same place last year in 2022. That's where I met him for the first time, and I already saw how good he is, because he's fast, he's accurate, and he's got the launch. And also, I've seen on Instagram, he's on his way to 220 ball speed, and if I'm not mistaken, just recently he was posting 219.9. So he's getting really, really close. So there's a lot to expect from Bobby Ray in the future. Amazing athlete, amazing human, but this next match was against my good friend, Josh Koch. And he was kind of getting in my face there, right? And I was like, nanamashimasu, nanamashimasu, to Taiga, right there in the crowd. It was really cool because all the athletes and, well, all the spectators kind of created a pretty big crowd considering the first event in Mesquite, Nevada. I mean, Josh was wearing the salmon pants and he was looking good, but I wanted to beat him. I mean, I spent the whole week with him and his family, but when you're on the tee box hitting into the grid, it doesn't matter who you hit against. Your best friend, your biggest enemy, it doesn't matter. It's all about you and hitting that ball as far as possible. So let's see how this is starting. So Josh is hitting the yellow balls. I'm hitting the orange balls. I kind of didn't like the orange balls at these lighting conditions, to be honest, because you couldn't really see them very well. But I was starting with an OB ball out to the right. I had Wes in the back again, Wes Campo, who was helping me a little bit with actually seeing the golf balls. Sometimes you can see me actually look back because I couldn't see the ball. And Josh was starting with a 412 on his first ball, which is a big, big, big number. Then second ball was a little bit better, was just curving towards the left line, but it looks a little bit more. Actually, it looks OB on the tracer, but it was actually 5 yards in. So that's why I was looking back, and Wes told me like, yeah, it's in, because he can, I don't know how he does it, but he can actually see the balls. And that one came back at 415. So I was in the lead by 3 yards. I was hitting the ball 10 miles an hour faster than Josh, but I don't know if it's like the optimization or the ground or whatever it might be, the ball itself, how it's converting. But I was 3 yards longer than Josh, which is the most important info at this point. And then all you can do is build on it. But then all of a sudden, Josh was hitting a 417. He was going 412, 412, 417. What a start for Josh Koch in this set. So I had to beat him. And at this point, I still remember, because this time I was a little more conscious compared to the World Championships. So I didn't black out that much. But I knew that I had to hit my best ball to beat my good friend here, because, well, how the ball's converted and how I did on my second ball was pretty close to the best that I could do. So I really had to find something here to make it happen. And as you can see me kneel down, teeing up these golf balls, it looks a little odd, but as I said before, with a tornado tee, you want to make sure that it's sitting right on there. It's kind of interesting. So he was hitting his last ball. I actually let him hit his last ball, so I got the last shot, then walked into my shot, and I knew this had to be a good one, and then boom. Pretty much one of the best shots I hit that day. 222.5, 11 launch, 2000 spin, 195 feet up in the air. And I was like, hey, Josh, no matter how this ends, it was an amazing tournament. You did well, I did well. It was great. Thank you for this week. I appreciate sharing the tee box with you. And then, well, the number came back at 418. So I was like, oh my God, this is so close. And then the ball caller actually told me it wasn't even a yard. It was 20 inches of a difference. So 20 inches decided that I'm advancing to the finals and Josh is being eliminated. I mean, what a match against my good friend there. He was very emotional after that tournament and it was over for him. And well, all I can say is there's a lot to come for Josh, and there's actually also a lot to come from Josh and myself as a team in the near future. Stay tuned. But now, I'm hitting in the final against Reed Russell. And Reed Russell has a baseball background, as you can tell by his swing. And he's one of the strongest dudes out there on tour. So the ball speeds he's putting up, the launches he's putting up, he's got his prototypical ball flight, which is pretty high. So in this tournament, he was hitting it a little lower, but I remember him hitting it pretty high in Salt Lake City last year, the tournament that he won. He can always put a number out there which is pretty big. So we had some work to do out here. So let's see how it goes. I wouldn't necessarily say that I was crazy nervous or gassed, but it was kind of at the end of the tournament. The tension is up. Now you want to win it. You want to take it home, obviously. But my first couple balls were good, so I wanted to put one in, but they were going right at the flags on the left side. So we got a number back at 408, which is a little bit lower than the sets before. But this is the reason we're always hitting at the same time when we're only comparing numbers at the same time, because conditions, wind, humidity, whatever it might be down there, also the ground conditions can always change. So it's balls are really only comparable at exactly the same time. So 4-8 right here is at least putting a little bit of pressure on Reed Russell, who's not hitting his first final, but he obviously also wants to take home the first win of the season. And he was struggling a little bit with that left side. So then Troy telling him like, hey, just aim a little bit better and just let it go. And I was down to my last two balls here. This one a little high in the face. I was like, my miss it was definitely high toe that day, which is not too bad with the shafts that I hit right now with the TPTs because they're so stable torsionally. So these balls do not duck hook as much as I was used to before with my shafts, but Reed Russell is down to his last ball, and as he hit this one OB left, I knew, all right. I was looking at him, as you can see from the right side, I was looking at the ball, I was like, do I still have to work? Do I still have some work to do, or can I just relax and shake his hand? And that's what I did eventually. Took it home with 408. This right here is the winning golf ball. 408 yards, definitely not the longest ball that I hit this tournament, but definitely the most important ball. And Ryan Gregnall and Josh Koch, my two best friends on tour, well, came at me and were kind of showering, kind of giving me a shower, not a champagne shower, but a water shower at least. And now let's see what I have to say after this first win.
Because I didn't start off great. Like my first 3 rounds were absolutely terrible. I was shaking, struggling, and well, all I can say to everybody out there, when you play 5 rounds in a round robin, never give up, because there's no reason to, right? You can always make it through with 2 more wins, and that's exactly what I did today. If I would have hit these 2 matches the way I hit in the very beginning today, well, I would have been out. So it's really about hitting the right shots in the right time, and that only comes with experience, I guess, because I've seen so many amazing new players. I mean, this is really about you guys. I mean, people come in from Australia, people come in from Europe, from everywhere, and they're so good. They're so incredible. They put up big speeds in the sims, but all they need is just a little more experience on the grid.
Talking about Sepp Twaddell, Matt Stubbs, who came in from Australia, and I know that a lot of players from Europe also want to come back out and compete. Just naming a few: Joe Miller, 2-time world champion, James Tate, Emil Rosberg, Jordan Brooks. All these guys are amazing hitters from Europe, but they simply couldn't showcase their talents over the last couple of years because of COVID and everything happening over here. So I just hope with World Long Drive now being back that they make it out again and they showcase how many amazing hitters we have over here in Europe.
And I said, you're on the march for number one. What modifications are you going to make? Because I know a lot of the guys were messing with ball speed, like the ball, like spin rate, speed. Like, what were you working on with that golf ball?
I mean, I tried it at the middle of the face. I haven't quite figured out yet how like the speeds convert. So I believe it's pretty good in the high teens range. Like a few of my 220 plus balls didn't convert that well.
And I still haven't figured it out. I'm still like trying to hit as many golf balls as I can, but ballistics wise, it's really tough to measure when you do not have a driving range and you consistently walk out and get numbers called back, because how a golf ball reacts through the impact zone, especially at our speeds, might be different to what it's doing downrange. So it's really about figuring this out and crunching the numbers, because this is also one of the skills that you need as a successful long driver, crunching numbers and adapt.
Thanks GF Sports and Entertainment to take over World Long Drive. The new branding, everything looks absolutely amazing, and I love how the event was run. And I can't wait to see new places. Oceanside, I mean, we've never been there. Atlanta, we've never been there. So there's a bunch of new places I'm looking forward to compete at, and new grids, and you never know, right? And certain grids are better for like slower people, more accurate people, more like consistent people. Others are bombers grids. So it's really the variety of grids that I'm looking forward to, and well, the year has only just begun.
That is exactly right. GF Sports and Entertainment took over World Long Drive just a couple months ago, and what they did in such a short time is really amazing. And I tag their YouTube in the description below, so you guys follow World Long Drive. There's a lot of highlights to come. There's a lot of live streams to come. There's a lot of TV to come. So check out World Long Drive's YouTube, subscribe, and follow the action.
Marty Borgmeier, 240, the Germinator. He's got like 8 nicknames. Mr. BurgerFi, he's your champ.
Marty Borgmeier 240 is pretty much my most favorite one. So let's make that happen, 240. I just hit 235.8 a couple weeks ago, actually a couple days ago. And well, when you post such videos on Instagram, most people can't really relate. It's very interesting because all they ask is like, yeah, how far did it go? But the more we promote World Long Drive, the more we promote our sport of long drive, the more people will understand and try what they're at and see how tough it really is to get up to these numbers. And the reason we do this is not to hit it through 235 at whatever speed with these golf balls out there, because they, as I said, don't convert that well, but it's really to push your maximum speed to bring up the speed reserve as well, so I can smooth the low 220s in there just like I did this tournament. So I'm looking forward to the next one, and I hope you guys stay tuned. Subscribe, comment down below how you like this type of commentary as well. If you want me to, I'll do it again. So stay tuned and see you next time.